which arena we are in, and we talk about the potentials. So if let's say you talk about career, talk about the potential of growth and climbing the ladders in your career. You talk about potential in terms of business, what's the growth like? You talk about potential of a child, is that the potential of the child in which area? Studies, sports, arts, I don't know. But when it comes to me, um, from doubt to power, it also talks about going back to ourselves, journeying back to ourselves. What is it in us on a daily basis, whether consciously or unconsciously, we have doubt or we lean towards power in expressing ourselves, in showing up every day. So, what is doubt? You have any sharing? What is doubt?
No, doubt is like you don't believe in yourself that you can do it. But I guess like right, everyone has his potential. I think the important thing is that you are willing to try. You are willing to discover that there is hidden potential. The potential might not be something that you already know that you have. It's always being like our thing. Okay, so recently what I did was that I was kind of bored sitting at
Yeah, you can join us more often.
Yeah.
And so I decided to start learning Korean language, right? So I went and
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
오빠.
So I learned how to read and write, and I realized that reading and writing is simple.
Simple. Okay.
Very simple. I think it's the simplest language.
Okay.
Right? But learning how to speak is difficult. Okay, because the sentence structure is a lot different. So you ask yourself whether are you able to explore and try to learn. Okay, and having gone into that, then I realized that I need a method to remember the vocabulary. So what is the easiest way? The easiest way is to flashcard. Okay, but me alone, how to flash?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So what can I do? So I said, okay, let's make an app on the iPhone. Okay, so I said, okay, but I don't know how to build an app on the iPhone. And so I thought, okay, so it's my first time. Maybe let's ask ChatGPT. Okay, and so I worked with ChatGPT. I thought ChatGPT was always smart. Okay, yeah, it's smart up to a certain point. Okay, because if it's too many things, then you get confused. Then you must unleash your own potential in terms of how to solve that problem and guide ChatGPT to solve that problem. Right? And so, long story short, I built the app in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Okay? And yesterday, or actually 2 days ago, I just launched it on the App Store. Yeah. Okay, so it's now pending approval by Apple. Once it's approved, then people can download.
Okay, so when the app is out, right, when we download, we'll actually be able to learn the Korean method that you...
No, it's not. It's a simple app. It's a flashcard app.
Oh, it's a flashcard app.
So you know your vocabulary, but you always cannot remember. So you need a way to practice. A way to practice, so, like, okay, a word come out, then you must have what is the word?
Okay.
How does it read and how does it pronounce?
Yes.
Right? And so that's what the app allows you.
Yes.
You always randomize a word and then ask you, do you remember what word is this?
Yes.
So it's your revision companion using flashcards.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Just curious, Aditi, do you know Chinese?
No, I don't know.
Do you read? So you don't read or write Chinese?
I cannot read. I can read my name. Okay, I can speak a little bit. I'm not fluent in Chinese. Okay.
Now I know you're not fluent in Chinese.
That's why I never speak in Chinese.
So next time we'll talk in
always speak Chinese to me. I always respond in English.
Okay.
All right. We also have Wayne here in the house. Good morning.
Morning.
So is that a braid? I don't know what is it called.
Yeah, a braid.
Yeah, a braid. Yeah. So Yeah, today we are talking about this topic, or we are discussing about this topic called From Doubt to Power. I'd like to hear from you if you don't mind sharing. What's your thoughts about doubt to power? And earlier on, we mentioned that, there's always a lot of potential in each and every one of us. It's for us to unleash. And TT actually shared that he recently learned Korean because he doesn't have much. He has a lot of time. He has a lot of time. So then, with that, he realized that hey, he can actually learn better through flashcards, and he developed an app to actually solve the problem of not having another person do the flashcards. Okay. Okay. What's your thoughts then about from doubt to power? Mm.
Sorry, because I just came in so a bit.
Yeah, I see a lot of question marks about it. It's okay.
Maybe that just was everything.
Okay, sure. So doubt, right? As I search online, it is like what did you say? It's you're doubting yourself, but it's also an internal voice of fear. It's a form of protection in us, and it's also from a past conditioning. Thus, there's doubt there. Okay, so where does this come from? It actually comes from a past trauma or unmet needs or fear of being seen. Okay, so from where I come from, what I practice, the NLP perspective is that doubt it's a learned internal strategy. So it's coping mechanism. Any thoughts from my co-host here?
Okay.
What doubt is?
Personally, right, I feel like doubt to me is something that I'm not familiar with.
Mm.
And it's not a total no, and neither is it a total yes. So in my mind, right, if I have decided that I wanted to like try something that I'm not exposed or tried before, right? Actually mentally my mind would have appeared a lot of steps, ways and methods to see what are the different outcomes of whether will I feel good, would I want to do it, how much effort and time and energy would I be needing to put into it, so that is that dark phase in my mental space. And usually before I decided that I want to embark on it, right, I would have this uh gut knowing that I think I can do it. So I would like to give it a try just to see where it goes. So the outcome of what I decided on is usually a 80% positive, but then the outcomes of what can happen during the journey or the process of playing around with something that I wanted to try would be I would like be open to variations of it. So there is that dark element constantly at every point, not just like the deciding moment, but it's more of how do we go from where we are to where we want to be. And usually the outcome would be more of a green light lah, at least for me lah. So I'm not sure about you, but I feel like sometimes it's not the point of like, when you decide to want to do something, right, you need to achieve it perfectly. But it's more of if you are vaguely interested and if you would like to be exploring that activity, I would say go for it. And doubt is something that is very common. I feel that it's not being assured enough in every types of activities that we are doing now, especially now that we are very exposed to a lot of new ways of doing things with technology in place. Like literally, TT just said he went to create an app by using ChatGPT, but if he didn't actually wanted to try it, that his app wouldn't be waiting to be launched. So I think that's a very powerful thing. So it's literally from his doubt to something powerful. And if we were to get inspired to want to learn Korean from TT sharing using his flashcard app, right, who knows where his app will go to? He could have like a lot of downloads and then suddenly things can go like in a very good way, or I wouldn't say viral, but one thing that leads to another that could like ultimately make TT not be so free anymore. You'll be probably busy on a new project. So that's my take. And then I think that's all I want to share. But specifically what activity that come out of it, I would say this streaming activity, like every 2 Mondays of the month. So if you're based in SG, please come and join us face to face. And before we decided to want to do this, there's also a lot of doubts. Not a lot, like, there's just some doubts in our mind. Like, would this work? Then after that, we decided, right? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. We just wanted to do it, so we just go for it. And then who will turn out, we'll just leave it to whoever is available. And that's why we actually fix 2 monthly sessions, 2 times a month, every Mondays. No, not every Monday, every 2 Mondays of the month. So that's where we will, just show up and take action. And whether it will become power or not, I feel like it's an internal thing. Like, if you decided to take responsibility for the decisions that you do, showing up for whatever reasons that you want to, right? I feel like you already have that kind of power in you to be able to decide what and where you want to live your life. So that's my thoughts lah. What about you?
I think based on what you actually shared, there's a fine line between consideration and doubt. Yeah. Well, where I lean towards in the definition of doubt will be heavy weighted towards the internal processing, the internal coping strategy. Does the doubt? Because the thing is that if, let's say, I were to follow the definition that is an internal voice of fear, action, past conditioning. If, let's say, we were considering of launching, for example, this TikTok hybrid session, right? It is more of a consideration, a strategy moving ahead to test out whether it will actually work in our initiative of community building and helping each other grow to unleash our highest potential. So where do we come and what's the fine line there? Will actually let us know whether we are actually in doubt or we are actually moving ahead in a consideration of exploring a new opportunity or embarking on something that will unleash our potential. I think we want to ask ourselves these few things because there are 5 types of doubts here. There will be doubts in the self, in the others, in the timing, in the purpose, and the existential doubt. So what are these? How do I know which falls into what? Now, if let's say you have doubt in yourself, you ask yourself, am I enough? Am I good enough? You always ask yourself that. And if you have doubt in others, you ask yourself, can I trust them? What about timing? Timing is that you will always ask this thing, is this the right time? Is this the right timing to do this? Do I feel right to do so? Okay. What about doubt in purpose? Now, doubt in purpose is something like that. It will sound like, why am I doing this? For what purpose I'm doing this? Thus, you see although there's fine line between consideration and doubt, you see that doubt actually rooted more on the self, the being and the state, the positioning and where the inner voice is coming from. And the existential doubt, it is something that is tied to the purpose in life. For example, what if nothing matters? After I've done all these things, what if this doesn't even matter at all? Any thoughts? Yes, please.
So if nothing matters, so what's holding you back from trying? So then I would think in this way because not most times, sometimes I would think, doesn't matter, just do it. So in my mind, it's like, it just doesn't matter. So if you want to do it, just do it because the outcome for all of us as humans is the same. So the only difference between our lives is how exciting in your life versus mine. And then we come together to share. And then if, let's say, anything worth doing together, we can duo each other, which means we can invite each other to go and embark on this interesting journey. And then from the interaction, which I feel like, I did some research, right, from doubt and to power, right? The power is not the absence of doubt, but it's when you actually develop intimacy with it. And then when you are able to name it specifically, what is it that is holding you back? What is it that you're like fearful or doubtful of? And then after that, right, as you find your like-minded kaki to do it together, and then this was suddenly, no, I wouldn't think it's a suddenly thing, right? It's a transition feeling of from your doubts to the powerful moment, and then as you get better and better, of course you will get even to the expert level if you choose to. But if not, right, you can just decide that, okay, I haven't been able to do that in the beginning. Now I can, but I think I've had enough fun. So let's move on to the next better project. It could be that. So it doesn't have to be like, a decision from one extreme end to another, but it's more of what are the shades of colors that you decided to embark on.
So does it matter whether you do it or not?
To me, it doesn't matter.
Right? So
Yeah.
I think the ultimate thing is that whether you want to do it or not.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So whether you want to do it or not is a motivation factor. Are you motivated? What motivates you to want to take the first step? To try out something new, to try out something that you think you will not do. But if you do, what will happen? Right? It doesn't matter. So it's kind of, so what if I fail?
Yes.
After I do it, what happen? So I think we should just consider a project that is not successful, right? And then we learn from what was failed. And then let's find the next motivation.
Yes, how do you find that kind of motivation?
Okay, for me, it's like I sleep on it.
Okay. How many nights?
I watch Netflix.
Yes.
I watch until got nothing to watch, and then I repeat the show.
Really, man? Cannot be lah. Netflix got a lot.
I repeat 3-4 times.
What are the
Same
shows,
shows.
if you don't mind sharing?
What are the shows?
That you repeat.
There's this show, Korean show called Doctor. Doctor Romantic or something like that, which I find very interesting.
Why?
And I watched 3 times.
Usually with this kind of words romantic, that I won't watch.
No, it's not about romance.
Okay,
It's
what is it
about
about?
the doctor.
Okay,
That is
not romantic.
it's the outcast, right?
Okay.
He has a very good doctor, but the thing is that he worked on a very famous big hospital, okay, and he made one mistake, and the mistake is not even his. Okay, because of politics, they pushed the mistake to him.
I see.
Yeah, and then he was outcast and then sent to a
Small town?
Ulu place hospital that nobody wants to go.
Okay.
And from there, he just built up the team.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
that,
We
I
will put it to our watch list.
Yeah.
Doctor Romantic.
Dr. Romantic, okay.
I do watch certain shows repeated times when I was younger, just to understand the essence and to understand how humans actually think. And what you actually mentioned, right, it's what we call as motivation strategy. If let's say somebody has existential doubt, right, you'll say, what if nothing matters? It means that if you want to search for the motivation, you need to understand what's your motivation strategy like. If you don't even know your own motivation strategy, what motivates, it's not going to motivate. You're just going to motivate sit down. Right?
So sometimes the motivation has to come from something that triggered. Right?
Such as?
You cannot say, can you motivate me?
Yeah,
You can't do that. You can't force the motivation. Right?
Yes.
The motivation has to trigger. So that's why, like I said, if I watch the show repeatedly, something inside the show will trigger me that, how do I do this?
What do you think something that will trigger you and resonates with you? What is that?
Something unique.
Something unique?
Something unique. Okay.
Something that I never often thought before.
Okay.
Is it an idea or something that
It can be an
resonates
idea.
with you?
It can be an idea. It can be a new idea. It can be something that I've been doing, but I never realized that I should do it this way.
Okay.
Right. Or something that I've never done before, right? Then you realize that why don't I ask ChatGPT, right? Because nowadays ChatGPT can be your friend, can be your buddy, can be anything that you ask. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so the other show, I think you know that this lawyer show is
Likely I watched before.
girl that is
The short hair girl, is it?
the short hair.
I watched
Very
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Which
Yes,
one?
she always do like that, right?
Yeah. I forgot the title, but not hard to find. But recently I watched this show called Mad Unicorn. You all should watch it. I think you didn't watch, right? You say you watch all the show on
No,
Netflix.
I didn't say
Oh, you
I
only watch
watched the show.
Korean, is it?
No. I watched the show that I thought was interesting. So I scan. I think.
Then
The
you
topic
need to get
interests me.
some recommendations also,
Yeah.
so that you know
Yeah, correct.
what you just click, right? Don't have to keep scanning. Because sometimes we thought it's not nice. Specifically, this show Mad Unicorn, I already saw it, but I didn't think it was a nice show until we start to sit down and watch it. Then I'm like, wow, very exciting.
There was another show that I watched again, which is Startup.
Yeah.
Startup. Wow,
Yes,
that one
yes.
is good.
Oh, then you will like Mad Unicorn. It's quite similar but different. Yeah.
I don't find a lot of movies interesting because when I watch the first episode, first 10 minutes, it doesn't interest me. I'll just leave it.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes if that's the case, the way the story is written is like the introduction is too long. It's boring, right?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes it's like that. So I just put it on and then I just go through something else. Suddenly I come back to the TV. Hey, this one is interesting. Then I try to follow what's happening. Right? And then I wind back.
What do you think draws you, other than the topic, what do you think draws you to a certain kind of shows?
Okay, I like shows that there's a hero.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I like shows that there's a hero. Okay, so this Dr. Romantic, the doctor is the hero because his surgery method is superb and he always saves lives. Okay, and a lot of the student comes to him, from the good hospital, purposely don't want to work there and come here and be his apprentice because they want to learn why he's doing. So I must always have a hero. Okay. For example, Wong Fei Hong, I like to watch the show because he's the hero, right? He always fight wearing white and never dirty. Even he fight on the mic, after that he's still clean.
I think it's only in the movies.
And that's sure.
Okay.
So hero like.
Yes.
So would you say that it is important for you to, have something that is hero-like for a result to come about?
Yeah, you need to have somebody to model, to look for.
There you go. That's your motivation strategy.
So that's the motivation, right?
Yeah.
You need to find, who excites you. What excites you.
What excites you? That's the motivation strategy, which is actually the values that we have in us. A lot of things are actually very unconscious. But if we are able to dial back to ourselves, what is it that motivates us? Go back to the daily habits that we have on an everyday basis. You realize that, hey, actually, I don't have to doubt so much, right? I just need to find my motivation strategies. What is it that interests me and draws me to or towards that allows me to find ideas, to allows me to feel excited again, that increase the curiosity in me all over again? Yeah. So when that happens, right? So why we will ask ourselves, in that case, right, every day we are doing the same thing and all that, then why doubt persists?
Okay, that's a good question. So you see, every day you do the same thing, right? You like it until one day you don't like it.
True. Yeah.
It's true. You do, wow, I love this job so much. Until suddenly one day it hits you. I really don't like it anymore.
So how?
So you look for something new.
Like what?
So you stop. And then you just watch TV.
That's a funny, but yeah.
That's very interesting.
Watch TV.
I think I will explore that again. I will watch stand-up comedy actually, the short reels of stand-up comedies, because stand-up comedies they specialize in different areas. Some specializes in parenting, some specializes in sports, some specializes in cultural reform and all that. And because as stand-up comedian, they need the very good ones. They need to really do research. what they understand about the topic specific, and they need to actually strip it up. So for the very good ones, right, they actually run through a few things. Number one, do their own research. Number two, verify. Number three, scripting. Number four, practice. Number five, get feedback. All right. So they went through a lot of rounds of checking and a lot of work. And then when you listen to them, you know that even though they are spontaneous, but they know what they're talking about. They don't just pluck from the sky and just do it.
Yeah, so it's like developing a training course.
Yes.
First, you need to do research, you need the topic, you need to know what you're talking about, you know, and you need to be fluent.
They need to be engaging.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of trainers these days, I feel like only self-taught only, and then after that, the students will be, or the trainee will start to be, looking at the phone, doing their things, and then, our span of attention is so short these days. All the more we'll scramble to do every other things. Yeah. So I was wondering, have you digested, what's in your thoughts about doubts and power already, Wei? Can we get some sharing from you, some thoughts from you on this as well?
We talk about the motivation. Yeah, because just now you mentioned about your motivation. Sorry, how can your name?
TT.
Oh, what's great.
I'm trying.
Titi, you keep reminding me about trainers training. I'm on the track, but that was like trainers training.
For me, my motivation would be like talk to people. I mean, talking to people and then get some insight. Because I like to listen to stories. Yeah. So you get some nuggets of because every individual is different. So the stories that you actually listen from them actually can get some insights and resonate with and actually can add into as your nuggets of.
Yeah, I think talking with people is also another way of motivation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you listen to their story. It's same like you watch a movie, you listen to watch
Yeah.
the story. Yeah. So
Exchange of
Real life
ideas
drama,
and-
different.
Watching a movie would be like one way only. I feel like sometimes it's one way only. Like you just put across already after that, it's just one way traffic.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So interacting with people is actually like
Yeah,
there's two-way communication.
Yeah, right.
And then you get some insight from it. And also we talk about the part where after you do a while then you get bored, right?
Yeah.
I think humans like to have some excitement in between.
Yes.
So I mean,
yes.
if we want excitement, we go to you, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I think life will be very boring, right? Like,
Yeah, that's why people always do something repeatedly until one day they step. Right? They say, I'm not going to do it.
Good. Now that you are like with us and we are all like-minded. As in we've known each other for a very long time. If you don't know, TT has been hanging out with us, just recently appeared, right? We are also planning to embark on some very interesting projects so we can talk more. Yeah. Definitely not a one-man show. If you are into one-man show, then you can continue into the one-man show. But the thing is, as we interact, as we connect, the whole point of us coming together, right, is to see how can we make life exciting, not only just for ourselves, but also with each other, and also to, see where it can bring us, and then realize that, hey, actually I can do this after all with a newfound skill. And then after that comes the decision of whether we want to go deeper into it to become better, and or maybe do it professionally, or just enough like, oh, I've been there, done that, let's move on. Yeah.
I think the thing is that with like what you mentioned, a lot of things you can ask ChatGPT, and you can even develop an app based on the guidance of ChatGPT in about 3 weeks' time. It means to say what? It means that people can get even much more innovative and creative with their solutions and find what's exciting or what will excite them, as long as they have the curiosity there. And it also means that we have a lot of time free up, because AI can actually do up a lot of things. For instance, you actually took up the time from you searching for another coach or trainer to teach you how to develop an app. Where you can just sit down in front of the laptop and do that. It already cut short that cost thing already.
So I guess coming back to doubt, right?
Yeah.
Coming back to doubt is that I think one of the key things about doubt is that we always think that we cannot do it because there are so many hurdles to get things done. So in the case of me developing an iOS, there are a lot of hurdles. Why I didn't do it 2 years ago, right? Because first thing I had to learn the language. Second thing I had to learn how to code UI. The other third thing I had to learn the design. There's so many things to learn. I had the idea of wanting to make this app functionality like that, for example. But then, in order to start, where? So the AI actually helped a lot. All this mundane thing, like knowing the UI, knowing the specs, knowing everything, you don't have to, just need the idea. So if you know how to instruct ChatGPT with the idea, it will come back to you. He is the designer, it is the coder, it is the integrator, it's the organizer of your code. And all that out of the way, all you need to do is instruct.
Where do you think the idea comes from? And instructing.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Where do you think the idea from? The idea of instructing?
How do you think that the idea developed in you in terms of you continuously instruct and knowing what prompt to prompt in so that you can actually learn these insets in what it is to eventually building up the app?
I think you learn it on the way. You learn it along the way because you have this idea that ChatGPT can help me. Yes, ChatGPT can build the app for me. Yes, ChatGPT is smart.
ChatGPT is smart, okay?
Kind of. Until you realize that they cannot do anything. They make a lot of mistakes. There was a point where I spent the whole day trying to resolve a problem with the app. And I tell ChatGPT, this is the problem. Okay. And then give me a code that is will solve this problem. So it gave me the code. So I use the code. And then another problem popped up. I said, hey, your code caused this problem. Then all he said is, sorry, let me give you a new code. So I keep on repeating the same mistake. Mistake A, solve, mistake B come out. Mistake B, solve, mistake A come out again. Then until a point, I have to tell it, ChatGPT to say, hey, let's stop here. Let's roll back and think again. Think more. Right? Where did we go wrong? What is our initial objective? Okay. So I said, yes, you are right. We should think again. Then he went back and thought again and list down all the requirements again. Okay. And then from there, you got to like reason with him. But we say that, okay, so this went wrong. Can you use this method instead of that method in code? Right? So in that case, you guide ChatGPT to do certain things.
So the clarity is there. The clarity is there in terms of the idea that you want how the app to actually function, and you are actually following the trail of thoughts of ChatGPT in accordance to the response that it gives to you based on your prompting. And that in itself actually answers to the questions. And TT is actually the live example that actually break through the why doubt persists. There are 3 scenarios why doubt persists. Safety response of nervous system. Now, TT actually mentioned that I know that ChatGPT is smart. I know that ChatGPT can help you solve the problem and all. So there's no issue of safety or anything. You just trust, you just know all you needed to do is just take action. Lack of evidence, you can't see what hasn't happened. So just find out. Just continue to work it out. As long as you know what is it that you want to actually have as a desired outcomes, the idea therein that you want to achieve, when you follow through, then you realize that, hey, all this, right, there's no doubt even that will actually come out. It's just how do I solve this problem? How do I keep going and put this idea through? And how do I train? And if there is a need, we trace back, we go back to it, right? And that's actually great. But a lot of individuals lack of this. What would your advice for them, if they actually have this resilience or persistence to continue doing so, or their idea tend to be, the ideas will shape as they don't get the results that they want. What's your advice?
I think the best advice is to stop, okay, and sit back, look at the bigger picture, okay, and see where is the point that was last succeeded.
Okay.
Okay, and remove all those steps that did not work. Okay, and start again from the step that last worked.
So go back to where's the success factor that worked, and then move from there.
Yes.
So means that you don't need to go all the way back, and you can actually move from there.
Correct.
Actually, that actually explains the last point why doubt disease, which is the programming from family, society, religion, past experiences, and all that. The programming that all we have today is a programming that we actually got since we are young, since we were born, or even longer, way before. But having said that, we can always start from where we know we have succeeded and move forward. We can actually start from where we acknowledged where is it that we can restart again, then move on. Thus, there's no doubt. So there are 3 points here for doubt to persist. The safety response of our nervous systems usually stems from freeze, fight, and flight. The lack of evidence that you realize that you can't see what hasn't happened, so the fear does kick in a little bit here, and you just need evidence, and all this stems from the programming that we already have with us. Today, as we hear what we actually discuss here, and as we learn from Titi, his experiences, it's also part of the programming that we're going to install in us, because you can unwind what you have seen, you can unwind what you have heard. So you can't unsee what you have seen, you can't unheard what you have heard, right? Anything to add on, Gerald?
I mean, there is this subconscious part of us that we are usually no, I can do my hang on. Okay, I'm back. So there's this subconscious programming in us, right? That most often, if we are not aware of its existence, which I think this is your topic of expertise, but just want to bring it up. It can be a fine line, because the doubt to power part, right? When you're doubtful and you're fearful, right? It can come up as a oppressive feeling from perceived powerful people. They call it the false power trap, which is a lot of it is from aggression, ego, and oppression, and so-called authority from the top down, pressing down. So I feel like these are so-called parts of us that are not congruent. It's like we are often putting on like a mask as we go out to work, or even when people are not around, right? There are different parts of us that is not the same throughout. So it's more of, if we are working from this conflicting angle, and ultimately, right, at the end of the day, right, you if you reflect, like if you do self-reflection, you'll feel like it's very draining. You'll probably be wondering, why is it that it's making you feel uncomfortable, and at the same time you don't really like how you are behaving, but there's no other way how to actually express it, or deliver it in a way where it's more appealing and more tasteful. So if this is something that you're not aware of, we are actually very aware of. So oftentimes we will do a lot of self-reflection, like what is it that has happened, how come we are feeling this way, and are we happy about our performance, or rather the things that happened today. And if not, right, what is it that's going on that we need to address it. And as what TT mentioned, right, there is this like skills gap also, because if you are in doubt of something, like you are not familiar with a arena that you want to explore, there is this gap of the language that you need to bridge it. And most times I feel like TT has been trying to mentally psych himself up to decide whether he wants to do it or not. And then after that, when he went in, he mentioned, right, that a lot of errors coming from ChatGPT. And actually, interestingly, when we talk about artificial intelligence, right, one of our technological tech partners actually taught us that there will be times when they have a mind of its own and then they go out of hand because they are intelligent, but they are not real. So there will be times where you don't know when they will go out of hand and then think on their own, so that they actually divert away from your original intention. That's where I think the problem.
So they are intelligent.
They are like humans.
Smart.
Yes, correct. So at any moment, right, it could trigger something that you have no idea which part, that they will actually deviate a lot or even a little bit. Only when you realize it and when you caught it and when you brought it back, and that's where we'll actually be able to work with you again. So when the our tech guy shared with us, right, we were like, oh, thanks for telling us, because we didn't know this. Because if let's say we were not exposed enough and we actually don't know what is, maybe something is wrong, we will actually continue to go on the wrong path. And that's where the gap of also artificial intelligence and human intelligence comes into play, I feel, because we are only at the start of being exposed to artificial intelligence. We don't know what the final nuances, when we deal with humans, actually we are really simple but complex at the same time. But only if we go deeper to really understand and continue to understand and learn and engage, then will we be able to identify. It's also the same with artificial intelligence. So when we know this is the gist of it, right? Then whenever we have a sense of, no, this is not working. And then from the ideation and however you want to prompt it to actually help to serve you to create that app, and the solutions can come out better and better. And that's where the training starts. It's also, I feel, the same with human. And I find it's very ironic and funny at the same time, because a majority of people say that they love AI because they don't have to deal with humans anymore. But they didn't know that the final answers of artificial intelligence is they could have a mood inverted bracket of their own that they will deviate. And that's where I feel like learning is interesting, because if we didn't know that and we just take things for granted or at surface level, right, we don't know what we don't know, and we probably wouldn't have found better solutions to do up our creations, whether is it only we have AI as our assistant, or actually we are working as a small team or a larger group of people. So in that sense, right, I feel like the unconscious part is the key to a lot of transitions in our life. Because if we are not aware, not that we are expected to know all the answers, but if we are not aware, right, there's no way we can start digging. Where do you even start? You just mentioned, right? Where do you even start? If let's say before AI came out, I don't think you will embark on this app thingy because it's too much work. And then is it something you really, really enjoy? Maybe. And then I think if you open up a can of worms and then you start to do your coding without any help from like technology, right, you are like, screw this, I'm going to find on a new project. It is too much for me to handle. Something like that. So I feel like the unconscious gap of whatever humans are about, right, it's not being often talked about. But if you have anything to add on, I feel you can please enlighten us, because it is something that
I think
I would like to know more.
I'm just also learning about this topic from when I got this topic. And as I learned about it, I've come from my perspective of somebody who is practicing NLP, somebody who is practicing timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and also as a coach. So I'm coming from the angle. So whatever content that I come from, it's usually from the academic and the practicality of how to actually overcome it, how to actually let go of this doubt. So my questions will be for everyone, and it is something for me as well to remind myself. It is, I will ask myself, what one thing you have been doubting recently? Because like what Jara mentioned, we do a lot of reflection. So for me, I do reflect I do reflection every day. So as I do reflection every day, there's a layering up of what is being reflected. And as I journal, I will see what are the patterns therein. And from there, I will zoom in to what exactly I would want to actually take up to focus on to show up as a better version of myself. And what are the things that I need to do to clean up, certain to share and see if this will actually help you to understand whether you are in doubt or you are not in doubt. All right, number one is that what one thing you have been doubting recently, and if doubt had a voice, what would it say? What would you do today if doubt wasn't there? I think the third question applies a lot to TT because he just like, I know I want to do it. If not, then I just go and watch TV and then I get insights and ideas and then I'll go and move on to my next project. All right. Yeah. So these three questions. What one thing you have been doubting recently? And if doubt had a voice, what would it say? So what would you do today if doubt wasn't there? What about you? Maybe you just share. It means that you are very confident. You know what you want to do. So if doubt had a voice, what would it say? And what would you do today if doubt wasn't there?
What's the first one again? If doubt
The first one is what one thing you've been doubting recently.
recently.
Yeah. Then the second one is if doubt has a voice, what would it say? And number three, what will you do today if doubt wasn't there?
What have I been doubting recently? Wow, this is very interesting because constantly many doubts will come and go, come and go. Wow, thank you, Anthony. Okay. So, because interestingly, we recently just talked about a giant seminar. I feel like this is something interesting that we can share later. I feel like this is something that's getting me motivated, inspired, and exciting. So I guess whatever I've been watching and reading, right, I'm looking for solutions or ways to start organizing this as a bigger collective. Oh, you got sick. Oh,
because I've been doing research and I couldn't sleep and I was like studying up and drawing mapping out the things and all that. And I realized that, I think I dehydrated myself. So I had a headache after that. I actually fall sick. Plus, I just came back from a long trip. So
so not sick of the idea, right? It's
not sick. I'm actually very excited because I do see it.
Yes.
Because when the map in my mind is so complex, right? When I draw it up.
Yeah. Correct.
Actually,
that's where the doubt comes.
Then I realized that, I've not been drinking water. So water hydrates you. You get headache if you're dehydrated. So drink water. And if you were to see, my voice is getting there already. So it's getting away.
It's like heat exhaustion.
Yeah. So that's what happens to me. Sometimes when I'm too much into the idea, I forgot about myself. My mind-body connection is not there. So when that happens, and when things happen exponentially and all that, my brain needs time to settle down. Then my heart will be pumping very, very fast, and it's like, oh, okay, I think, touch wood.
You need
as long as
alarm
it's not
clock.
high blood pressure, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
going back to the topic, right? I think that is that angle of what my doubt is about recently. So, but at the same time, I know it can be done because many people have been doing it. It's just we haven't actually tried it. And in my earlier sharing, right, I said doubt is not an absolute yes or no. It is something that not sure. Maybe let's see. Let's find out. So that answers the first question. And secondly, if doubt has a voice, what would it say?
Yeah.
My doubt lah. Okay, I would say what my voice is lah. If let's say when I have to decide whether I want to make a decision whether to move forward or not to move, right, or to wait and see, right, is I would also weigh out my baseline worst case scenario. It's like what's the worst that can happen. But if I actually start thinking and extracting, right, the worst is not actually a life threatening thingy, or like the most we know that when we come together we are aligned in a way where we would like to make it work, and at the same time we have resources so that we are actually covered in that sense, right? I would think, yeah, I think it's fine. Let's go for it. And because we do it, or rather my voice tells me to do it step by step, so that at any point I know how to rectify, like go back, backtrack, turn around, or go left or go right. So I'm not the kind of person who say, let's do it and then go extreme ends without really thinking. I would really go and break down at every step, right, and think, and then do it really baby steps by baby steps. In a way, because I have a self-awareness of, I can't handle too much stress at any moment. I know some people can, but I can't. So how do I actually work with it, right? It's more of starting early, break it down into very, very, very small steps and bite palatable sizes. If it's too big, right, don't go at it at a chunk, right? Just cut it up, chop it up, mince it up, so that okay, this is what I can handle now. I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. So eventually, as the small pieces get achieved or get done, right, it can be, joined and then streamlined into something that is like already accomplished. It could take a little bit longer, but as I mentioned, right, if we are coming together to work and gaining resources, asking for connections, right, I feel like it can be done. Really, it's like how people run the marathon in a relay manner. It's like once you've done your part, you pass it on. Once you've done your part, you pass it on. And if let's say you face any hiccups, you can ask for help. And that's where we actually highly encourage to people who wants to come together and work together or get anything accomplished, right, to see what we can do and complement. Because asking for help is also an art of, if you don't know what exactly you need help with, how is people going to help you? And then sometimes instead of blaming other people, you need to reflect, is it the way that you put it across is not making sense to people? And that also requires a very high level of self-awareness and the willingness to be open to learn, listen, and also be able to say, I don't know, and let's find out more. Because I feel like this is that block where your doubt does not become power. If not, right, then your doubt becomes the false power that is coming out as toxic, or as it's coming out as distasteful, and nobody wants to continue to work with you, because either you're just too ignorant, or you just think that it can only be done in one way. And then after that, right, you're just not listening to what other people are telling you, if especially people have done it before and they are willing to send you resources, but you're just not willing to receive. So it is very interesting and complex, where there are multiple perspectives to be considered. It's more of when you also want to choose to take a step back, right? That has to also be a conscious decision, or the choice to do nothing at the moment, but wait and see and wait for the right moment or the right information or the right resource to come together. So that's the voice in my head, or rather in me, that will tell me a lot of things to, as a self-reminder, be open, really don't be rash, start early, don't wear a hat that is too big for your head, so that these are all the little considerations. Then the third one is what?
What will you do today if that wasn't there? What will you do today if doubt wasn't there?
I would do anything I feel like doing at any moment. Yeah.
So these are some of the 3 questions that we have there. Actually, I'm curious about Wayne, who's very quiet there. I would like to ask her these 3 questions. What one thing, the first question, sorry, please share what you wanted to say.
Yeah, jump to the last question.
What would you do if that wasn't there?
Okay.
Can.
Sure.
It just came into my mind. It's like, I think it would be more like, when there's doubt, I think you need to ask, because you never know what you'll get. But sometimes it's like a lot of things, like, I feel that a lot of things that, but for me, would be like, probably I judge too much for myself and about others also. It's like, if you don't have, like you want to do something, right, or you want to ask for help, right, just ask, but who knows that person may actually help. But sometimes it's like just that, sometimes it's like you feel paiseh, or feel that maybe that person may not be able to help or whatever, then you tend to ask, and then you'll be
That's a
like,
very long pause. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, why I asked this question because these are the questions. I mean, there are many other questions. Maybe Titi, if you have just add on for me. We have many other questions, but these are the 3 questions that I think we can start from where we are at to moving along. Because what we want is we want to transition from dark to power. All right. And this power is the inner power. So we want to reclaim the voice, the inner power in us. And usually power is not like, oh, you know, even like what Titi mentioned, the hero in every character, the hero in what's the approach like, it's when this person is very aligned, thus the power of the hero is unleashed. At least that's how I see it. Which means to say, when this person has so much clarity and so much conviction and confidence in what he or she do, all right, with a lot of integrity, with a lot of presence in doing so, is so aligned, that in itself is power. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, correct. I guess it was to find
Thank
the
you,
alignment. Okay. Alignment is important, right? So if I watch the movie, somebody in the movie might be the hero to me, but when you watch the same movie, it might not be your hero.
Definitely,
You know,
yes.
because maybe the third actor is your hero because you can align with the things that they do, that he or she is doing in the movie. He or she is portraying herself, right, in the movie. Okay, and so I think the important thing is that, you know, look for the hero that is yours, not somebody else.
Oh, exactly. Yes, yes, definitely. Because what resonates when we watch a movie, watching a movie is like us putting ourselves in a chosen trance. You know, in the movie, anything can happen. A Superman can wear underwear and he won't get caught, all right? And then he can fly, and then it's like, you know, when they fall from a plane, you can just, you know, put your hands there. It's like as though the body will not be sliced because of the gravity and all. So a lot of things that doesn't make sense can exist in movies. So like what you mentioned, you know, the hero in some that appears or appeal to someone, it depends on the individual. So seek for the hero that resonates with us. And this hero actually, if you notice, it is actually the values that we have in us. What is important to us in us expressing and being who we are. And whatever resonance that we get from the character in the movie, okay, it is what actually we unconsciously find the resonance, found the ideas, find the actually the solutions to what is it that, you know, we have actually not been excited about recently? What is it that we have not been able to be interested or curious about, and things have become mundane and become boring? So the resonance of the hero within each characters, it can be just one character at one moment in time, or a few characters in one moment in time. But the character of the hero that resonates with us is the values that the person actually portray in the character that he or she plays. And when you actually resonate with that, ask yourself, what is it so important that this hero play, right, in that scene specifically that resonates so much in you, incited emotions in you to be interested and to be curious again. And if you know what is that, you know that whatever you resonate with is a power. And be mindful though, sometimes we actually resonate with something that is not serving. If it is not serving what we want to do, is that we want to be mindful, we want to come from space of abundance, from space of ecology. We don't want to put ourselves in expense of something that you know is going to trail to something that's not going to be beneficial, not only to ourselves, but to people around us, to our surrounding, to what is it, the consequences is that it's known to you that it's not going to serve. And if that's the case, notice that it is also a power in itself for you to make a choice what you want to do with it. So power has both sides, and it is then based on the choice on how you want to actually exercise this choice to unleash and use this power for what purpose. Right? That's why I say if you want to put positive power into a positive light, it's an integrity of its own. It is of a presence at this present moment, all right, with clarity of what you actually exercise and what actually you do, and so align that you have no doubt as well at all. You have no doubt. So from doubt to power is with so clear, so much conviction, so much clarity, you're able to do it. And this is when the mind is very clear, and you know that this power will flow so naturally. What's your thoughts?
And with power, it comes responsibility.
Yeah. The greater the power is, the more you know, more responsibility that is.
Yes.
Because the probability of the exercise of powers chosen in the context that you exercise those powers, you will see more possibilities. And then sometimes they will bring up more doubt. But the mind is clear. The key here is when as how it would be, whether or not it's within your possibility. Because conditionality, because it is one model of the world to another model of the world. It's from one being to another being, or one being to another group. But this group these days, in the present days, has a mixture that changes so quickly in terms of where they are at because of technology and AI. Right? So with a mix of contents and mix of being at any point in time that flashes so quickly, that functions so differently at any point in time, we want to be able to have a very clear-minded the direction or space or state to be able to execute something. So it's like very simply, I have this idea or execute this idea, and I have a clarity where instead of just responding and reacting all the time, I also want to make a choice to be at a cost so that whatever that comes into my radar, it is based on my reaction and it is based on my response and the choices that I make at any point in time. So that in itself is power. So my next question is, how do we bring this into practice so that we can cut short the time and have power in us consistently?
I want to say something.
Yes, please.
Just now you mentioned that we will also resonate with experience or things or people that does not resonate with us, you mean? Or rather does not serve us.
Does not serve us.
Does not serve us, right?
Because why some people they actually use the anger and they use the hatred, right? To they are aligned. At the same time, they are also powerful. At the same time, they also have a clarity of mind. But the actions that they take is for revenge. Then that is not going to be serving. All right. That is also a power, man.
So that means your hero is the genius.
Yes, correct. I wanted to say this because it's very interesting and it's not something that people will remember, especially when we get emotional, like when we are angry, we are fearful, we need to fight for survival, in a sense.
Yeah.
So
because everyone is in a different context, is in a different arena where we are being of survival being, survivability always comes to us. But the how we actually move on, it could be something right to us at this point in time. It could not be right for others.
Yeah,
but it's survivability. What you want to say?
So everything that is looks like.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Power is actually a double-edged sword.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. But the whole idea there is that you have power, you're responsible for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
You have to be conscious that whatever that you exercise, right, it comes from space of ecology and you will take responsibility for it. Yes, definitely.
So to what TT said, if you have power, right, actually we all have power. We actually all have to be responsible for our own power, which is the mindful part, the awareness part, the split second moment, right? You know, where you have to make any decisions, right? That is either for survival or for any important that can affect you know, there's the dilemma where, you know, do you choose to sacrifice this part and move on with that part? So it's really a fine art of, and what TT just mentioned, right, with great power comes great responsibility. Why I wanted to highlight this is because last time I do not want responsibility, and I do not say I don't want power, but it's more of like, I don't want to be responsible for other people's bullshit. And that is very irritating, very heavy, and very irrelevant to how am I going to be living my life. Then as I grow older and likely wiser, right, I feel like if I don't take my power back and decide for myself and be responsible to whatever I need to be responsible for, which I feel like my definition is a personal powers level of limitation. That's why I say the personal power level of limits, right? Whether is it a potential or is it a limit, right? It's really up to you to define it and work for and work towards. And that's where I realized, right, it is way better than if I were to be stuck at, I do not want to be responsible and I do not want to be powerful and everything I let other people decide and, you know, just go with the, with whatever other people say I should not be doing, because that should or should not be doing, right, to me, like, I feel like I grew up enough times and, you know, years or decades of people telling me what I should and should not be doing, right? I think I get sick of it and tired of it already. So as when we were earlier discussing that we will only continue to do things until we just get sick and tired of it, and then we will just want to break out, right? So I guess that awareness comes for me to be ready and like mentally, emotionally to be open to more power, to claim it back at least for my own, and also to be responsible and mindful enough. And that's why I feel like that mindful and unconscious part of me needs to be leveled up. You know, I can't live in ignorance anymore. Even if I logically choose to, I think my unconscious is telling me to freaking wake up. That drive, that motivation for me to continue to move in a way where I can still find my joy, enjoy, and then not feel like burdened by every other BS. Because now I think I am able to laugh at a lot of BS that is really quite like watching drama in real life. And that keeps me going, because if I view it from a outsider's perspective, as what, you know, Wei Ying just mentioned, right? When we watch TV and watch shows, it's more of like, it's a one-way thing. But that gives me a learning that can be cultivated in my mind mentally, that I can learn to observe from a third party's perspective without being involved, and, you know, really understanding or even going deeper into analyzing, right? What is it that is happening with this character, How come this villain suddenly can become a hero in some shows? Or how come some nobody, right? How did he or she become a hero at the end? But then the hero journey usually is more amplified in a manner where it's more dramatic, especially Mad Unicorn. Really, guys, you should really go and watch it. I highly recommend. It's so drama, right? Then I also, not that I question myself, but I will just start asking questions. In order for this person to go from zero, he's literally zero, to a unicorn company. You know what's a unicorn company? I can't even begin to start telling you. The BS that he faced, I don't think any of us want to tahan, especially when we have been so sheltered. We've been so provided for. But this is based on a true story. Literally in Thailand, this company really existed, and they were inspired by
It's a
this.
Thai show?
Yes, it's a Thai show.
Unicorn,
And they
okay.
met unicorn. Yeah. So it's a real story. This company really is a unicorn company. The only first, I don't think, I'm not sure if it's the only, but the first unicorn in Thailand that do that business. He was a zero
It's
day.
in English? It's in Thai language?
Thai language, but you can change on Netflix.
Yeah, I cannot.
So highly, oh wow, so
Multilingual.
yeah. So for me, right, I feel like this is something that I wanted to highlight, because last time when I was younger, I was appointed to be like, you know, in charge of different things. I'm like, no, thank you. I just want to siam and then move away. But as I grow older, I shifted from like, okay, never mind, let me do it. I will do this part. But another part I cannot. Somebody please take it, because I have my limits for now. And I feel like this goes back to the topic that we are talking about today, from doubt to power, right? It is the ability to be able to you know, name your doubts. Like, what is it you cannot do? What is it that you don't know? And then that's where the power also emerges. Because if you decide to like try to be putting on a mask that everything you just pile onto to your shoulders, right, be responsible for a lot of things that you probably have no answers to, right, it's going to stress you out. And then when you're stressed, right, there's no way you can make decisions with clarity. We've been talking about this keyword clarity for the longest time. I feel like one word, right, it seems to be able to sum up a lot of things, but ultimately and unfortunately, it needs to be broken down into a lot of steps throughout the journey and the process of different individuals. So I feel like if I were to extract it into a gist of whatever power is to me is your personal power. We are all responsible for our own thoughts, decisions. At the same time, there's also an awareness of what is it externally happening that we have no control over. And then for us to be able to respond in a way where it actually helps to serve us. And then also being aware enough to be able to jar us awake or like keep us awake, that like, you know, any unconscious part of us that we were not aware of can suddenly surface. And then how are we going to work with it? It is not something that is harmful. It is something that we just need to be aware of for you to be able to make the next decision or to not make anything decision at that moment. So that's what I wanted to highlight lah.
Okay. In addition to that, right, this just came to my mind now. With great power comes great responsibilities. I mean, it's true, but it lies into where this power is being exercised and what's the impact of this power. I recently met a very wise man, and I asked him about how do we function, all right, in a higher role. A higher role means that you take responsibility where you will be making decisions, and the decisions of what you make will impact many lives and all. How do you go about it, and how can you be so consciously, be so clear, and you're conscious clear of the decision that you make, and then when you realize that things doesn't turn out as how it is, you take on the responsibility. How would you go about it in doing that? And he just answered me this thing: you can only do your best at any point in time. With greater power, which means that what is it that you actually decide upon? What is it that you actually exercise upon? The responsibility is that what comes to you to actually manage, and that is all. But if you always come from a space that you will wear different hats and you come from a best intention, you make the decision with the best intention, that's all it takes. Because great power doesn't mean that your power now is comparison to another prime minister. Your power right now is comparison to another president or not. But it is how wise of you at a point in time in your state, and the responsibility given to you in you exercising that responsibility that was given to you in the best way possible. Now, intention works both ways as well. It could actually put somebody in a bad light. It can also heal somebody and put somebody in a bright light. I always say this, someone who is with very, very good intention but doesn't have the skills and knowledge is as harmful as someone with bad intention but have a lot of skills and knowledge in that field of expertise. Right? So at any point in time, the more powerful you are, it means the more depth you have, the more responsibility that you have in that arena that you actually possess in your expression and the impact it itself to others. And that is all. You don't have to take responsibility for everything, but you just need to know that whatever that you're given responsibility to exercise, you do it consciously, you do your homework, you do it with the best intention, do it in the best ability. You can only respond in that manner. But if you react and you know that you don't come from a space of responsible. For example, you come from space of lack, or you come from space of ego, you come from space of self greed and all that, then that's not ecological. All right. And then if you come from this place, it will bite you. That's why you feel that the heavy responsibility is there. Because the thing is that whatever that you exercise with space of abundance, from a space of abundance responsibility, your conscience is clear, things will still fall back. But when the bad things comes, you take it as a feedback and you can respond to it. You can stand up to it. I mean, it's easier said than done because emotions are always there. But you know that unconsciously and conscious clear. I wouldn't go back and beat myself and say that had I known better. But you did your best. You know you can always rely on I've done my best. I've done my homework. I've done my best. Right? So a lot of things are being blown out of proportion, but if we are able to go back to ourselves and ask ourselves, at this point in time, if I were to reference to the responsibility and I feel burdened by the responsibility, I'm going to ask myself, and this is the part where I wanted to go in before Jara shared her views, is that the daily checks in. Where am I giving my power away? You want to ask yourself that. When you feel beaten, when you feel that you are not in the right state, you have done your best, but things doesn't turn out as how you hope to be, you want to ask yourself this question. Where am I giving my power away? You don't dwell with it. Whatever comes up, that's it. Now, whatever comes up, that's it. You know that, okay, now I'm going to go back to myself. How do I exercise the choice? What do I need to intend for today so that I can show up as the best version of myself? If we break it down, that's how I would actually put it across. I see that, Titi has a lot in his mind. Maybe you have some thoughts that you can bounce it off to us.
No, what your question is that when is it that you give up the power? When is it that you
Where am
Where?
I giving my power away? Where in which area? Where?
Okay, for me, I would say that there are certain things that I don't like to do. That's where I would give it up.
How do you know you don't like to do it?
Yeah, because it's a burden to me.
So you already do it or haven't yet?
Doing it is a burden.
Okay. So okay. The thought of it already burden already
If
lah.
it's a burden,
Okay.
I don't want the power. I will give up the power to somebody else who find joy in doing the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
People.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things that comes to me. Even the thought of it, I don't want to start it. Because it's going to be a burden to me.
And this is actually a very good guiding compass. A very good guiding compass because we'll go back to what is our definition of today? What's the intention that we want to, put across and exercise today? Because the thing is that sometimes a lot of us, right, we just go day by day doing our duties, put food on the table, we have to exercise this duty, we have to exercise this responsibility because we are employee and this and that, right? But you want to ask yourself, where am I giving my power away? Am I comfortable doing this? Is this what I really want to do? Do a check-in. And when we do that, you realize that you can recalibrate and have the power come back to you by exercising the choice and make plans and what's the next transition like. Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yep.
Wait, let me flip back. So then, right, to me, I feel like power of choices is a power to me. So personally, I always like to position myself where I have choices in life. But recently, I learned something that when you have no choice, it's also a power because there's no other way except that only way that will actually bring you to the next level. So can you help enlighten? Can I give an example? Okay, so personally, I don't have a personal example, but I'm just going to use the mad unicorn as an example again.
Yeah.
So this guy, he is a Thai who can speak Chinese, and he does sand mining, which is a dying industry. And then because of
Sand mining. Okay.
so even the boss is like wanting to close this business as he's part of one of the miners. Then when this guy he has been suffering a lot, like, you know, going hungry at the expense of, like, the mom also don't have food. Whenever they have anything extra, it goes to him and his brothers. So ultimately he has been living in this kind of poverty for a while, right, until he realized that he doesn't want to do it anymore. And that's where his mind starts to think that how can he get out of this poverty state, right? And then to me, I feel like there's no other way except to do it that way, or rather he has decided to do it in the way that he has decided to, but that's the only way for him. And that's where he actually realized that he could get out of his poverty. So for example, there's this very big conglomerate trying to come and press down their price at 200 baht, but they're actually selling for 300 baht. So after that, right, he go and do a bluff. I think it's a bluff because if you watch the show, he has this tendency to do that. He said, I have talked to all the wholesalers and now I'm going to charge you 400 baht. And that's his only way. And guess what? The conglomerate have to suck it up. And the conglomerate buy at 400 baht again. So to him, from what I understand as a third party's perspective, right, is there's no way out. But once he had this idea, that's the only way out for him. And he managed to get out.
That is bargaining skill.
No, yes, correct. But he didn't learn it. He didn't learn it in a way that is taught to him. He learned it through living life. But that's why it's very exciting. But to me, I wanted to ask the question of having no choice is actually a power. And that specific example actually leveled him up to go to Bangkok, the city, because he's living in the village. And then he has now expanded his choice. So then it's very interesting because from no choice to now he has a lot of choice. So he became a tour guide with a lot of choices. You all go and watch. I don't want to do any more spoilers, but you know, ultimately, I see Tintin Rami like that. So my question is, how come this can become so interesting?
I think choice in this aspect is, if we were to see it as a choice. But the thing is that he does, because like you mentioned, right, he is already at the state where he doesn't know how to actually maneuver. I mean, poverty is really one topic that, you know, you believe in this era, and still there are people who are in a poverty state and don't have 3 meals, not to say even 1 meal, sometimes 1 meal also they don't have. But the thing is that if you were to think from another way, from another perspective, probably that's the best he knows how to buy. So the no choice is that he has thought of it. He probably has thought of other ways, but he was thinking, how am I supposed to, now I make a choice. I just want this to be sold at a higher price, and thus I find the best way. So he's actually, it's not about not having the choice, but is to find ways to be resourceful, to position the price of the mining to be at 400 instead of 200. And he's just trying his luck. All right, he's just exploring. He could actually frame himself to say that, yeah, he's buying 300, he's buying 200, maybe I can go 250, maybe I can just 280. But no, he went up 400. All right, so he went up 400. It means to say that he is actually exploring his probability of success. All right, he's also making choice. So it's not like he is not in no choice, but it is probably in this context. I know my main focus is to sell at the highest price. Okay, what's the best way to sell it at the highest price? And I take my chances because the person say he's offering at 300, he never locked it in and say that that's the last price. He haven't entered it with the negotiation rooms still there. So if he can actually bargain with me at 300, at 200 instead of me at the price of 300, the honest price, then beef it up another 100, you know, so that, you know, for whatever is it, can still come back to 300. It's in between one. So you bring it down 100, I bring it up another 100. So we meet at the middle. That's the best bet.
Interestingly, it may not be having the middle.
It may not.
Yeah.
It may not. But the thing is that he actually tried his luck.
Correct.
Right? So when you say no choice, probably circumstances, the context.
Yeah, and in his context is that the no choice part. So he just drive it from this topic, right? It's like the dark to power, right? it feels like his way of driving it as a power, right, is he feels like to him, to us, there's a lot of choice, as what you say, it's context driven, but to him, is really no choice, and he used it to drive it. And I feel like this is something that I wanted to bring up, but I have no idea how to properly articulate it, because as what TT say, right, there's duality of things, and a lot of times we talk about the art of, and then a lot of the gurus out there say that, you know, you need to have more choices so that it gives you power of the power of no choice. That is solely or something that is recently brought up to my awareness, and I feel like it kind of makes sense.
Sometimes it is
that inverted bracket no choice
the circumstances, because the thing is that why we are in that state, because we know not alternatively yet. So that's why it's like it seems no choice. But if we are actually able to be more resourceful, right? But having said that, do we actually have the resonance, the reference? That actually goes back to previously. I mentioned the 3 points on why doubt persists, which is the third point, the last point, programming. Okay, if we have within our programming that we don't have references of what we have, we are able to see or heard, we don't have that kind of exposure, we won't know alternatively what it is, right? So we will always want to upgrade ourselves. We actually want to learn. We actually want to talk to other people. We want to watch good movies, good productions that is thought provoking. Because when that happens, it expands and it brings out the idea of, hey, there are a lot of resources that we can actually tap on. There are a lot of ways to actually go about in certain circumstances. Now, for the movie, I mean, the movie is actually talking about unicorn, right? So how this person actually make his success and be the unicorn company. But the thing is that at a point in time, he probably only had one direction, okay, one goal. Instead of giving up and give up and follow the fate that he's in, and in the village do whatever it means to bring back one meal, he goes about in saying that, okay, I have this, what am I going to do with this and to leverage on it so that I can grow better and I can actually expose myself. And when that happens, where probably he got that 400 baht, he got it sold at 400 baht, he opens up his perspective. This is what we call evidence procedure, where we have emotional beliefs that actually lead forward. So our biological body actually responds to this evidence procedure, to this experience, to know that, hey, there are more possibilities out there. That's why taking action is very important. I'm coming to the point on power versus habit. Power versus doubt habits. All right, I'm coming to this because when we take action, this is what happens. When we think we have no other options, we have no other choice, we realize that we don't have the resources. But once we take certain actions, the momentary, like what Jara resonate with, which is no choice circumstance, when we continue to take action, we realize that you will have this emotional belief expansion. We call it neurological expansion in the NLP jargon. Okay? The neurological expansion gives you the experience, gives you the resonance in the biological body experience to say that, hey, there are other alternatives out there. It gives you the confirmation that you have other choices. All right. And when that happens, you will continue to grow and you'll continue to expand on it. You'll continue to explore. Remember, sometimes when we have kids, very young kids, and we have pets, for example, they will always try their luck. They will always push the limit. This is what will happen. When we grow older, we tend to actually have these artificial or unseen boundaries in us, right? And these boundaries are actually defined by the programming that we have. But when we actually experience something new and we realize that, hey, this is something that I reckon with can happen and there are more possibility, then you have this mind-body alignment. Because sometimes whatever you know cognitively, if your body doesn't have the chemical reactions, have the emotional belief of expansion from it, you won't believe it. You will still like, I think maybe can now. Okay, let's try. That's where the word try comes in. But if you have that, let's say, let's go for it. Let's go for it. That's why it's adrenaline driven. Those people who are successful, they continue to look for the next success. Same goes on the flip side. Those who fail a lot, they continue to look. But then when they get the success, they move back to the failure because it's what resonates. So we want to be very conscious to know what actually goes on internally so that we know which direction to go into. And as coaches, as trainers, especially those who work one-to-one with these individuals, we must know how to actually direct them. And we can actually use strategy and we can actually use motivation, the motivation towards or motivation away from to help them move along. Motivation, with that, I think with time, I would like to actually bring us to what I talk about power habits and doubt habits, which actually expand on what I actually explained earlier on, right? So there are 3 power habits and 3 doubt habits. So it's just to give an idea. There are more to it, but it's give an idea. So for example, power habits, when we talk about actions, how do we know that it's powerful or doubt? You know that you are taking actions, you know that you are finding evidence whether this works or doesn't work. That's power. Doubt is when there's overthinking. I have no choice already, but I still overthink. Wow.
That means you don't, your choice still have, because that's why if you really have no choice, you probably I feel like that's where the bottom pit of the bottom pit comes in the paradox manner.
Yeah, I have no choice. I know that I have no choice. I really cannot see any choice.
And then
I
you're
know
still
that
overthinking.
with clarity, I want this. I want this to happen. I need to have this happen. All right, I take the action.
So as great friends, I will just push you down deeper into the pit so that you really think you really have no choice but to
So
go
that
up.
power, they can plan the action. So you know that the time to taking action is quick. It's not long. It's quick. Overthinking is when you miss the opportunity lah. Right? You miss the opportunity or you delay things. That's when you start overthinking. All right. Second thing is that the visibility of it, and that is power. The visibility of your actions, the visibility of your presence, the visibility of what you actually do. Doubt, on the other hand, it's a lot about comparison. So when I think about this comparison, maybe it's like giving excuses.
Like, for example, what kind of comparison you're talking about?
Comparison is that, what if I've done this, then, this happened, then what, instead of this, should I actually invest $100 versus $50? But $100 give me immediate response. $50, I need to invest more time in it.
Okay.
Give me a return of the same amount maybe in 30 days. But if I invest $100, then maybe it gives me a return in the next.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah. This is actually what's happening all the time with people who is trying to gain something quick.
But then
how
I'm
like
not talking about investment,
no. Yeah, that's why. But
you do your homework.
That's why I wanted to ask, what would be the ideal way of making decisions? Because not just investment, but a lot of the sales tactics are doing it in this manner. But I'm not saying it's wrong, but unfortunately, whenever we go and try, then we realize that's all bullshit.
Number one is
I think
that
the idea of do you pay to get the convenience, okay? Or do you pay more to get the convenience versus you pay a little to get the basic? Okay. So when I was developing my app, so there is this thing versus I always don't believe in paying for chat plus. Okay? So I'm always using the people. That is because I just ask basic question now.
Yeah. Okay.
So what about pay, right? Yeah.
So no need to pay for what, right? Until when I developed the app, when it was the beginning, the app was at a simple stage. Okay, so I think when you check once a while they say, okay, you have used up all your quota. Okay, the quota will reset in like tomorrow noon time. Okay, I just wait long. Until when the app get more completed, there are more things I want to add, there are more features tasks. Then then the frequency of break is like often. I cannot ask him, I cannot send a picture to say, can you tell me how to solve this and that. And I say, okay lah. In that case, I just pay for 1 month.
Okay.
So when immediately I pay for 1 month, it's a lot of difference. Because it's kind of unlimited. I can ask anything. The response come back quite quickly. I can send pictures. I can send images. It will analyze for me and things like that without restriction. Okay. So certain things you need to pay.
Yeah.
You
I
need
agree.
to pay to get better response.
Yes.
To save you time.
Yes.
In the way.
For me, my guiding principles is reason. Because 2 things, my energy and my time. Once I exhaust it, I exhaust it. All right, so it will not come back to me. So if money can actually convenience, but money at an appropriate amount, at a convenience, I will pay. All right, as long as it makes sense. Reason being is that if I'm going to spend so much time on it, I need to readjust my timetable and my planning of the day to actually stick to what is needed there. And then at that point in time, by the time, like for example, ChatGPT reset, then I realized that, hey, I got no time really. I need to attend to other things. Then I lose that time to actually maximize the usage for that period. I probably, instead of it reset for the next 2 hours or 4 hours, I miss that. It means that I'm using my next opportunity I need to spend 8 hours for it to get back that kind of benefit later on. Instead of 2 hours I use and then 2 hours get used. So with that is the risk and reward and how important this thing is for you to be actually investing in it. That's on the money to look up. All right, and also you want to think about it. Okay, if let's say I'm going to spend time doing this, all right, and spend energy doing this, what's the outcome of this investment versus if I were to focus on another area? So this is like projects, for example, even with individuals. If I spend so much time with this individual, how valuable is this individual? And how valuable is the time spent with this individual, the outcome? Is it going to boost our relationship or is it heading somewhere or what? Versus, me focusing on other things. So it's more of a risk and reward. To me, money, time, energy, and all that, they are all my resources. But what comes first is the time and energy, because without time and energy, no longer living. So what other resources I'm going to talk about? All right. So it's a way of risk and reward to each individual. The way of it, the metrics of it differs from one individual to another. Yeah. So the visibility is how much clarity you have in weighing this and what to actually focus on and invest in. And the comparison is when you sit down and think and think and think and think and you can't decide. And that's where your time and energy is lost. All right. Then the power habit is the embodiment. All right. And the dark habit is hiding. So embodiment versus hiding. So 3 things. 3 power habits is actions, visibility, embodiment. The dark habits will be overthinking, comparison, and hiding. So if you see the distinction of which becomes very clear or very clear to you that you're overthinking, comparing things all the time, you're hiding and all that, you know that you have dark habits. All right. But if you are always taking actions, you're always visible, it's an embodiment, and you show up frequently, you realize that it's a power habit. All right. And these are things that builds up to who you are and how you actually show up every day. All right. Actually, this power habits and dark habits, from dark to power, it's all about ourselves. So I have another small part that I want to bring in. It's called self-loyalty versus confidence.
Self-loyalty
versus confidence. Yeah.
What's that?
Self-loyalty versus confidence. You know why I bring this up? Because too much topic and too much talk on self-love.
Yes.
All right. But the thing is that self-love is about building the kind of rapport with oneself. How much promises you keep to yourself that you say you do for yourself and you do it. How much self-trust in terms of the foundation of personal power that you have does the confidence that you seek. So self-love is all about how you bring back the power to yourself. To be so congruent, to have the clarity of mind, to know that I'll keep promises to myself, regardless of what it is, and to what is important to you, and you have that self-trust to be actually do so. And that's the foundation of personal power. Because I feel the need to actually bring this in because too much talk about self-love, and sometimes self-love is too much about spa, facial alone time.
Yeah,
me
indulgence.
time. And then what do you do during your alone time and me time?
Not
just
sparring,
going to-
right?
You're just going to go back to who you are after
Yeah.
that period of time.
Yeah, it's passive,
So,
passive.
It's not about self-love. It's really about who you are, your
Identity.
self-loyalty, your identity, yes, your confidence. Because your confidence is who you are, to even exercising the self-love, there's a deeper to it, deeper depth to it. It's about the self-confidence, it's about the rapport that you have with yourself. Right? If you're not keeping promises to yourself, you can't even trust yourself to do certain things, and you don't develop that kind of self-trust, and you don't develop habits to actually cultivate that as your foundation of personal power. Don't talk about self-love. Stop talking about self-love. Please go back to your self-loyalty. Please go back to your personality, the foundation of who you are. And develop your power from that. The power of inside out. Stop talking about self-love. And sometimes I'll like, somebody tell me, hey, please exercise self-love. I'm like, I don't know how to actually explain it. But as I think about that and going through certain period, I realized that it is not about self-love. Because sometimes when we do something for another individual, like a parent or a caregiver to another person, it's an exercise of self-love, although it comes from sacrificial. Why? Because it's the inner way of them building the trust and the rapport of themselves that I want to do this because I feel responsible, and it's actually directly connected to their belief and values. What is important to them? If they don't do that, they lose who they are, the rapport with themselves, and that's detrimental.
Yeah.
Because when they lose that, they lose a part of themselves. That's where the confidence crumbles. And when when this individual doesn't have the confidence, whole life goes down. That's why there are a lot of people who, once they become a caregiver for a period of time, when the person that they care for pass on, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to function anymore. But if they know how to actually exercise that, and they're actually able to build the rapport, and they strategically or mindfully having the exposure and people supporting them in their growth, knowing that I can still build rapport with other people, I can still have a relationship with other people, I can still keep myself responsible while exercising this. I don't feel guilty for not being with them. I mean, come on, we talk to individuals in 50s, 60s who lost their parents, and they say that I feel guilty because I didn't spend enough time with them, because I don't want to be a caregiver, I don't want to be a self-love. It's not that. At any point in time, whatever that we actually come across and we prioritize as part of our responsibility, it's our opportunity to build the kind of rapport with ourselves, is to build the kind of resilience within ourselves, to build the kind of promises and to redefine the kind of promises that we have with ourselves. Okay, so it's all about the self-relationship. So stop talking about self-love. All right, viewers out there. I'm not hopping on anything, but I'm just bringing out the other aspects and the other perspective towards self-love. All right. Yeah. If there's any thoughts, please share.
Yes. So I feel like our role here is to inject new beliefs to create mind shifts into powerful transformations. So they can continue to talk about self-love, but when they talk about self-love, they're going to inject in and say, let's change it to self-loyalty instead, because then that's where they realize, oh, I didn't know that there's a depth of, and then they will feel like, yeah, I learned something from you today, that kind.
Thank you.
So interestingly, this is something that can happen as we go deeper into the depth of whatever is happening with us as our identity. Because if we didn't actually bother to, learn in a way where it actually helps us become the powerful person that we are, right? And if we constantly dismiss a lot of, I've learned this before, right? Seriously, right? Initially, whenever I hear people telling me that, they've learned this before, they already know about this, right? I try my very best to not be irritated. But then after that, I learned to switch to respond, we'll see about that. Because after, as you engage with them more, you realize that they really don't know. They only claim that they learned, but what exactly is it that they've learned, right? To be able to use it in a way that helps them live properly within their life. It's like, I'm not here to dictate how they should be living their life, but whenever they come back with, I'm not happy, I don't know what I'm doing, yeah, is it something that they've chosen? Most often they tell me things like, no, then they don't know what else really. So it means that they haven't dived deep. They haven't actually dived deep. So from dark to power, I feel like the dark, if you choose to use it as a power to move you forward or upwards, depending on how you want to define it, right? It is actually very serving. Because from a personal experience, I think I've countlessly used perceived negative emotions, perceived negative outcomes from perceived negative doubts, right, into something that came out very positively for me because I decided and chose to use it to propel me in a form where it actually injects that surge of energy that I needed, which we actually earlier talked about as inspiration, as motivation. Because in order for us to get over the hurdle or inertia of not doing something that is very new and something that feels very uncomfortable, right? We need some form of extra power to push us up and out to get started. And then for me, right, I feel like if I don't want it to happen all the time, but if actually I do experience that, I will not put it to waste. Because if I'm just letting it go by again and again, right, then I will always be at the status quo. Then there's no leveling up, there's no breakthroughs. But if I don't feel that way, right, I also use whatever time, energy, resources I have in my capacity, right, to learn and absorb. Whether is it perceived negative things, like for example, season 3 Squid Game. Sorry, I just use movies as an example. Some people don't like it because it's very violent, but for me, I'm just fascinated because I wanted to understand what is it that drives the behavior. Because what I'm looking for is very different from what people are doing and watching at the surface level. I'm actually analyzing it and then doing it mentally. I cannot really break down how my thought process is, but I don't feel irked by it. Because I am also in the personal branding niche. I do from outside in and inside out at the same time. But inside out is, of course, Lean's expertise. But my external expression and skill sets, right, also allow me to learn about how shows are being produced, how media is being created. And if let's say I feel very grossed out by something, right, I feel like, wow, this is a piece of art. Because how many people can actually do monster characters that looks really realistic, and I really do appreciate their skill sets and effort. And then if I think from this perspective, right, it's not scary because it's really, really watching. So once I got that out of the way, only then can I be open enough to understand what is it that the story is trying to teach me, what are the characters are therefore trying to teach me in a way where I don't have to be embroiled in the drama, but as from a perspective of a third party person. Because we don't know what we are gonna get, especially now in this era, even though we are here like in a certain space we call Singapore, right? It is also being open and ready to build up resilience, skill sets, competence, or awareness, right? For you in order to be able to use it whenever you need it. So I feel like adult learning, continuous learning is also very overused without people knowing what the depth of is. It's not learning for the sake of learning, you know, like how people use skills future to pay for courses that, like, I don't even know what to say, okay? I'm not saying all are bad, but the quality is really, I'm so sorry. So going back to why we need to pay for people who really knows their shit and stuff is worth it. But at the same time, right, I've also fell victim to paying for shit that didn't work, right? But I used the anger and angst to propel me to realize and move forward and make back everything. So that is that dark to power journey for myself, right? I feel like as I continue to cultivate, as I continue to learn it from this, as what you mentioned, right? Like physiology, the experience evidence procedure of learning how to do it well, right? Will I be able to break it down and offer my solutions to clients who resonate with me? So that is that power phase of overcoming it. Then after that, how do you get better? How do you actually serve? And then how do you find a purpose beyond just you yourself as an individual? What kind of bigger responsibilities are you now open and willing to take on after you have claimed your own? And then whatever you have access, then will you be able to help others? And that's where I wanted to highlight, because it's not about, you know, carrying all the burden that is not your problem to carry, but it's more of being able to discern whatever it is that you are able to create from value, collaborate and complement with a win-win perspective. And that's where I wanted to share that after you get a hang of this cultivation, this journey of, you know, transiting from dark to power, or feedback, or failure to feedback to solutions, right? It is something that will help you become better and better. The journey of downtimes will be shorter and shorter, and then the level of competence will be higher and higher. And then ultimately, right, I feel like once you're able to come from a creations perspective, which we actually are emphasizing from the very start, you'll really be on a high. Not saying that you'll always be on adrenaline, but you'll always be filled with ideas that you would like to try out with fellow teammates, with fellow friends, to see where it will take you to. And that's where I call living life. Because if the project doesn't work, never mind, we just move on, or, you know, pass it to somebody who has a different way of doing it and maybe different resources that we can continue to build and stack upon each other. And then is it for you to carry everything? I feel like it's no need lah. But of course, if you personally take on a specific project that needs you to be responsible from end to end, right? Do it properly lah. You know, at least be committed for either 6 months or 1 year, and then after that, right, come back and then reevaluate again to see whether it works for you or not. Like, we also really have one project that we have ongoing coming to, and we realize no, it doesn't work for us. But we actually, wow, I can't believe it's almost a year. And then it's good feedback for us. But that doesn't mean, right, we cannot continue to work in different angles and different perspectives. It's more of once we understand what is it about, and then how can we use it in a way, whether is it for us directly or indirectly for others. So that's what I wanted to say. And then, you know, reclaiming your personal power, right, has many different lenses or practice or cultivation or behaviors that you will probably be open to understanding and learning. Because it's not only just from the mind, but, you know, in our mind body, as what Lynn mentioned, and then what kind of practice that will help your body be comfortable so that your mind and body don't have a disconnect. Like, when you feel uncomfortable, can you continue to push a little bit more, or is it time for you to, you know, rest and take a step back, recharge, and then continue pushing? That sort of thing. Okay. And then from there, right, I wanted to highlight this personal perspective of personal branding, the power of negative personal branding. I realize I do it as and when I need to, because I have boundaries and standards that I set. I do not claim to do things that I don't have an idea of delivering. And also, I do not want to work with people who just not open or doesn't get it. Because if in the event of working with them just for the sake of money, and I actually have to expense my time, energy to fight with them, and them not being the gracious, open clients that they are, right, then I'd rather not take it. And then from there, from the very beginning, right, I always claim that, right, I don't do rush work that is not of quality lah. Huh? That means I always over deliver. But if you don't appreciate it, then they can feel free to find somebody else. If not, right, then if you are not working well with me, then I will just say, like, just cut the relationship and move on. Like, you must show that you have the power to stop any working relationship if it doesn't fit you or the other person. Because if you are able to do that, right, I feel like the conscious action is not to suffer any responsibility that is not yours to bear. And at the same time, you're actually removing people who are going to be draining you and holding you back from moving on to, better initiatives, better projects that can benefit more people. So in that sense, right, I think I actually shared whatever I wanted to share. Any more from TT or Wei Ying?
Maybe some takeaway from
Yeah.
today's
TT first.
Takeaway. Okay, so coming back to what was that? The doubt, is it? Doubt. Okay.
From doubt to power.
From doubt to power. So what I want to say is that when you're in doubt, stop what you're doing. Right? Roll back. Think of where is the point that you have succeeded. Okay. If nothing else works, just watch TV.
Oh,
Okay.
wait.
I think what intrigues me is the self-loyalty part. Okay, something like so.
Clicked.
So actually, I should have a question there. So do you mean that self-love is just an action or a behavior for it, or
Self-love is something that is being propagated, right? And I think it's overused. I would rather go for self-care. If you talk about, taking time out to spend time for yourself, to actually care for yourself, to go for yourself. It could be self-care. You can use this word self-care. Self-love is to allow yourself to bring back the love to yourself, because a lot of women out there, it comes from a space where there are a lot of women out there, they overgive themselves, they've forgotten to take care of themselves. They forgot to actually love themselves. They forgot to bring back that love that they give so much upon, and you realize that when they needed help or when they needed support, no one is there. And the detrimental part is that it's not about no one is there only, but also there's no one in there to remind them that you actually have to have love for yourself as well to be able to receive. Now, a lot of women, they are caretaker. A lot of women overgive. And when they overgive, they forgot how to receive, right? And because the ultimate essence of life is love, this is where it comes in when they talk about self-love. Any gift that's given to another person is a gift of love to another person, regardless whether it's for what purpose. It could be a bribe, it could be anything, but I'm not going there. All right, it could be something like a thankful gift and all that. It could be that, but it's an expression of love and appreciation, something for a win-win exchange. It is something that, and the essence of all this is love. Because if it's not love, it's fear. It's only these two things. But if we overuse this word as self-love and it's being commercialized, to say that, hey, come for spa, come for this and that, it's a way of self-love. But it is more of a self-care if, let's say, when you go for these sessions and or you invest yourself into it, you spend money on it, you realize that you're not heading anywhere. It's just a momentary escape from what you're actually going through. But when you go back, self-love is more about what is your relationship with yourself. I have people who spend tons of money, 5 figures to go traveling every year. come back exhausted. Come back, I'm still in the same job, I'm still facing the same thing, and I'm still keeping with the same narration. I'm still not good enough. Then I was like, why you want to spend those money? Might as well come to my session. So I learned from you.
Travel out to actually to
You get exhausted because the mindset
yeah.
is still the
Yes,
same.
yes.
The habit of thinking is still the same. The rapport with the self is still the same.
Yeah.
But if you were to actually invest in something, let's say that I go for a spa, all right? In that spa, I'm actually in a resort. In that resort, I'm going to do a lot of self-reflection. I'm going to attend activities that rejuvenate my mind, body, and soul. Right? I'm going to learn something. I'm going to read something. I'm going to learn from a guru, for example. I'm going to go for a yoga session. I'm going to go for a relaxation because, mind you, even spa and all that, do it correctly. It allows you to reset certain nervous systems that actually have blockages because of emotion. The chemical reaction that causes blockages in the nervous system is from the emotion. But if you are able to actually go through the session, all right, go for massage, go for yoga, go for spa, whatever it is, go for your hot bath and all that, and then actually loosen and clear the blocks, okay, for your physical ones. It allows you to receive and learn more from the lessons that you attend, right? Be it a teacher, a yoga teacher, a trainer, whatever that you do. That's why nowadays people want to go for wellness traveling. They just don't want to just travel because if you go out and travel, just go and sightseeing, unless you're into photography and all that, and really rejuvenate you, then that's fine. But if not, you're going to come back with the same mindset, same habit, and
Yes.
you're going to feel so tired.
Yes.
Partly also because of the airplane, partly also because of the different time zone. Your body needs rest. Your body needs you to actually speak to it. Your body needs the rapport to be built within you. Confidence loosen if you don't have the rapport, but confidence strengthen if you have the rapport. You do what you say you do for yourself and you do it. And that builds the confidence in you. That builds the rapport. You know, sometimes you may not be able to do it 100%, but you are able to forgive myself and how can I do it better? It's just like nurturing another child, but you're nurturing yourself. So you rebuild the kind of rapport. So it's self-loyalty, self-care, right? Self-love is to bring back the love back to yourself, especially for those who have forgotten to actually nourish themselves. They come from sacrificial part of the idea where I need to sacrifice this, and this for another thing. And women does that because society has actually groomed that idea into them. But now things have changed. Things have shifted. A lot of men are actually embracing and teaching their sons, right, to actually respect women and to see where the complementary areas are. So there are roles to play. Physically, men and women are different. All right. Thinking in terms of the chemical reaction within the biological body is also different. But as science progresses, and if we were to take that information to feed ourselves, self-love comes from being able to respect us ourselves, know how to give and receive in return. That's where the self-love can come in. I mean, that's my own perspective and my own understanding. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You can contest me. Feel free to. That's from a lot of reading that I understand as of now. Whether in the future I have a little bit more depth or a little bit more context. Because every culture's brings about the understanding of self-love, self-care, self-loyalty differently. You go UAE, you talk to Arab women, you don't tell them that because they still need a man to even step out of the house. But after you go to the West, women and women can do a lot of things. Women and men can do a lot of things as well. So it's very much environmentally driven, culturally driven, belief driven. Right? If I want to generically put it across, it's okay. So contemplate about it. I hope my answers give you some thoughts. And yeah, let it sit in and see where it brings you. All right.
I think I just share a little bit more before we
Sure.
finish the live. From what you just mentioned, right, the care is something that is real because I literally met someone who actually is very burnt out from her work. And then she always has this very FOMO feeling of not wanting to take a break. But even if she were to take a break, right, even though she didn't say it, right, I just very confidently say, girl, you got to work on yourself, because no matter how long you take a break, right, even if it's for 6 months, right, you will still be the same person, because it's not the trip and the rest that you need. It is something that is holding you back, that comes from a lot of fear and FOMO. And then I literally also say the same thing. I can guarantee you, even if you take a month holiday, it will actually make the whole situation worse.
Yeah.
But the most satisfying moment is when I actually see her face change, and then she will like there's a, oh my God, I think you're right, kind of silent moment there. And then I just shut up.
Journey back to yourself.
But how she wants to do it is really up to her. But it's more of whenever she open her mouth and say it in a way where it's more of like giving the power out away, like she's looking for people to inspire her. I say, girl, if you don't know what inspires you, how can you expect someone to inspire you? Yeah, that's why. That's one very good way.
The reason is that we want to be understanding that watching movie is good. And the movie directors and script writers are, whatever that they're actually written in there, whether it is fantasies or otherwise, you have to understand what it is actually happens. There's actually references to it. Nothing is out of creation without any references or anybody understood it as it is. Whatever that we are able to visualize, the capability of visualization comes from a context of resonance of what we actually have in us unconsciously. So the collective of it that comes up in movies are real characters. Okay,
Yes.
we are able to look at it and without judgment, we know that in essence, right, human are like that. If not, we won't have World War One, World War Two, like for example, for the Squid Game. Okay, for all the other movies, fantasies or otherwise, it all comes from, you may call it imagination, but how would you know? How do you know there's no resonance? No imagination can come out without resonance, because we are all of programming, of a certain programming of where we are at any point. Okay, so choose your resonance, choose what is it that empowers you, choose power over doubt. When you know you have doubt, know that it's a good space to bounce in, to recalibrate, to redefine the power and exercise the power in the context that you wish to take responsibility for it. That's my sharing for today. Thank you all very
Reclaim
much.
your personal power. Okay,
Yeah.
so that about sums up everything. So thank you for joining us today, TT and Wei Ying, and everybody who will be in and out online and a rewatch, because we have it on YouTube live stream. So join our YouTube channel, and hope to see you the next round, which is the third week of this month, Mondays.
Oh yeah, I also want to invite those who are actually curious about coaching and want to know more about coaching, or wants to just find out what coaching is, and if they can actually want to have questions answered for anything about coaching, do come for coaching pod the third week of Monday, happening in the next live session after the live section. All right, happening next session, which is the third Monday of the month after the live TikTok session. All right, about an hour. Let me know if you're interested. Drop me a message. If not, do subscribe to our Substack. Track has Substack, and there's an article about it. There's already 2 articles about it actually. So let us know your interest. Give us any feedback and connect with us. I'll see you next round.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.